Well, gobble gobble, and greetings to all of you guys. Welcome to episode 162 of the Other Side of the Ball, brought to you by the A7FL and the Other Side of the Ball Network. Happy Wednesday to you. This is Dub coming to you live and in monotone stereo, I guess you will. Joined by, as the usual, Chris and Mr. Hammond. But today, to make a special announcement, is the one and only Mr. Steve Ashmore of Ashmore Media, who just got off work. So we definitely appreciate the time. And Mr. Tender is already having some quarrels, and we haven't even got to the content yet.
We
Good
haven't
grief!
even got to the top 10 or anything else, and he's saying, I'm shocked that I had a down year. Okay.
Well, first of
Sorry,
all,
DT.
let's thank him for doing what we're saying, which is if you have an issue with what we're saying, put it in the comments. He's done that, which also means let's be clear. Let's give him double credit because not only is he doing the comment, but he also watched last week's show or 2 weeks ago to
2 weeks
know
ago.
where he was in the. Now,
He
I
doesn't
think
know where he was because we haven't announced anything yet for the top 10. So he wouldn't know where he is yet.
Well, no. But what we were saying in the conversation is that, hypothetically, and look, Tender had a great year. He had a bunch of turnovers at the end of the year when he was a little unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he hasn't
Which
been
dropped him
mentioned.
completely out of the top 50. Let's be real.
Well, he hasn't been mentioned yet, so he's either in the top 10 or out of the top 50. And we all here have eyes. And some might even say Steve Ashmore, he's got that third eye. You know what I'm saying? He focuses both to zoom in on the Cyclops view. And look, stay tuned, David Tender. You may not have to wait too much longer to see where you end up in the entirety of the league as we rank
Whoa.
the
Hold on. You're down 30
A7FL
pounds?
top 50.
He's down
Wow.
30 pounds, man. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, I think I found that 30 pounds you're down there, bud.
Well, before we get into the top 10, we are, of course, joined by Steve Ashmore of Ashmore Media, who has some announcements he wants to talk about on.
Dub, you're fading in and out. Can you repeat that?
I said we are joined by Steve Ashmore of Ashmore Media, and
Yes.
who has some announcements to tell us here. So, Steve, the floor is yours, and again, we appreciate the time because I know you literally just got off of work, so the time is appreciated. So, go ahead, the floor is yours.
I appreciate you guys having me. First off, it's nothing crazy, but I talked to Derek and I wanted to say, how can I give back to the league doing what I do? So everybody knows I'm out there shooting photos all the time. And I said, hey, how about this? For every A7FL Nevada player that pays a registration, I'm going to donate back a free headshot session to those players to be able to use either for your LinkedIn profile, your stat tracker profile, whatever the case is. But for every A7 Nevada player on the West Coast that pays a registration, they're going to get a free headshot session out of me.
Damn, I'm paying my registration.
Well, also, if you are from the Ohio or Indianapolis division and you fly
You're
out,
screwed.
I was
Just
told
kidding.
if you fly out, that trip out to Vegas is not covered. But you might, if you fly out, you might have to beg. But I'm just throwing it out there. Listen, Steve, I write checks that a lot of other people have to cash all the time. No better example than when Mr. Ryan had to race. I know you wanted to race, so I'm not signing you up for that, Steve, but I am signing you up for any Midwesterners that fly out to Vegas other than Jordan Davidson, aka Cookies and Milk Cam, because we know he does that regularly, apparently. Other than that, though, what else you got for us, Steve?
So this coming up season, everybody knows that I shoot photos, but this coming season, after talking to Derek, I'm going to be the on-field video tapping into the live stream.
Nice. Little, we call that the Ron Clerk cam. Yeah, that's definitely been a dynamic view. And listen,
Hey, wait, I got a question.
you're
Does that
gonna
also mean that
you're
we could use you for replays now?
We did that last season.
Hey,
But I mean, actually get them up on our screen.
we'll see. We'll see. Hey. Don't make promises.
So the
Listen.
way so when I talked to Ryan DePaul when he was in town, he also told me that there was a way that we could tap into my drone as well.
Yeah, it's not
Interesting.
it's been done before in the Northeast, but there's definitely logistics that behind the scenes have to be worked out first. So it's possible, but I don't want to write too many checks. Steve's got to
Right.
cash.
Right.
by the
So
way,
at
Tender
so
was
at this
asking a
point,
question.
we're going to be doing photo, video, and with the video is also
And
going to
audio.
be. I'm sorry.
I'm joking.
Oh,
He said
so
in audio.
oh yeah, photo, video, and also I'm developing a team, so there'll be more than one of me out there this year.
Clones? Are you doing the clone route, or are you gonna just find other people and hire them?
Well, the way I look at it is no better way than to teach people up and coming that want to be in this industry. Why not pass on what I've learned over the years and put that into the league?
I'll be a
Listen,
little
so
different.
you heard it here first. Now, can we put that comment back up on the board, because we're getting a ton of engagement from
This
a
one?
top player in this league. Steve, can you read that?
Can I get that free headshot session for the final four? You got to get there first, buddy.
I mean, he already did. So listen. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, but he's asking. Now, listen, the championship might be the thing that's out in Vegas. So I think what he's saying, to paraphrase, is if he makes it to a round of the playoffs where he is in town, do you got my boy David Tender on a little bit of a headshot? He is Mr. Marketability. I mean, if anyone in our league needs a headshot, it's Mr. Marketable himself.
I mean, I was there shooting his game when he played here in Vegas. I got some good shots of him, so I know he's marketable. But yeah, if he makes it out here, I'll take care of him.
You heard it here first, David Tender. Not only do I get the offensive lineman for the Insomniacs paid on a bet for the stealth, I am now getting you free headshots. All you got to do is do what you normally do, David Tender, and win fucking games.
And stay healthy.
And being down 30 pounds and being healthy right now is damn good. But
I mean, is he? Can we call him? Is he vegan tenders now? Is he vegan tenders, or is he like gluten-free tenders? We're going the organic route.
I think we could call him. We can give him
He's
a new
grilled.
nickname
He's
and call him
grilled
Slim
tenders.
Tender.
He's grilled tenders now. No more deep
Slim
fried shit.
tender.
Let's fucking go. Slim tender. Yeah,
Good old Slim Tender.
Tender, we're gonna get you marketed for the Burger King chicken fries now. Okay.
God, whose laugh track is that? That's loud as hell. Wow.
No, that's my kids sympathetically laughing at my terrible jokes, likely.
Ah.
No carbs. That's right. No soda either, Tender. That's how I dropped all the weight, but I had to put it back on because I'm too old now. So I have to have an excuse why I can't move fast.
It cracks me up to listen to you guys talk about being old.
It's all perspective, right? Like, if I'm an active player, I'm old as fuck. If I'm retired, then I all of a sudden just morph into a young man. So I mean, listen, I'm still old at the moment, so I'm gonna just say it. Now
I'm done morphing. I'm too old to morph.
Yeah, the final evolutional stage of the Chris Vera Pokemon is let's say your mega evolution.
Done.
So
if I was a steak, I'd be overdone.
You'd be that Canadian import if you were a steak. So, and you get tariffed like a motherfucker. But anyway,
you know what? That's all right.
I'll just have to find an Argentinian for the beef.
There you go.
So that segues super cleanly. It would have been nice if we stuck to the David Tender comment, but guys, we're here for the final top 10 of the A7FL's top 50. Now, Steve, do you want to do, since you are our guest this late afternoon for Vegas, because you guys are like 7 hours away from me, would you like to introduce our number 10 player of the 2025 season?
Oh no, Steve, do you have the list?
I have nothing.
Okay.
Are you on the Other Side of the Ball network on Facebook.
No.
Oh,
No?
open up the group chat.
Hold on. I know we have to Corey, fill for me for a second. I'm gonna send it to Steve right now.
Number 10.
Nope, don't say it. Don't say it. I'm gonna let him say it.
Number 10. I can do this number 10 again.
Oh shit. Steve, check your messenger.
Okay, let's see here.
So
Here, let me introduce it for you guys. And number 10.
Hold on, because my list doesn't look like.
it's you have 19 through 10 and
You can do
9
it.
through 1. So
Yep.
we're just going to number 10.
Number 10.
Oh, Mr. Marketability, David Tender.
David
go.
Tender, quarterback, Silk City Animals. So, like I said, David Tender, you did not have to wait long. And does anybody remember where he lined up last year? Because I think he may or may not have been right at this spot. I think he was either 10 in the 10 to 15 range last year.
He was. I want to
So-
say he was 12 last year.
So let's just break it down, and then we can do the comparison to last year. Because number one, team was a better team. They won more games, and if the job of the quarterback is to do anything, it's to convert on third down, manage the offense in the 2 minute to go situation, but to find a way to win the game at the end of the day. And where David Tender and the Animals set a record last year for the only team ever in the history, I think, of all competitive football to lose 2 postseason games.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Because I'm an asshole, I just have to be on
I
brand.
know.
But it's a
like I
sharp
got on you 2 weeks ago about saying bad things about the player.
But this is the comparison, because it's the contrast in what he was doing last year, which was absolutely dominating on the offensive side of the ball, but didn't end up being the winning quarterback in a lot of those games, especially against the top competition. This year,
that was
totally
you're
different
talking about 2
scenario.
years ago, right?
Yeah. So when I say last
Yeah.
year, I'm
No,
still
you're good.
considering that 2025 is the current year technically, but yes, exactly. In 2024, David Tender may have looked a little bit more electric because there was less time that he spent actually injured. The stats were about the same. I think he had a little bit more rush yards this year. But what the main difference was is 2024 to 2025 was the overall record of the team. And yes, we talked about earlier in these episodes some of the defensive reasons why the team overall was better. And for a guy that had a running back in 2024 that was an absolute dominant playmaker to kind of show up as kind of like 75% of himself in Quanny Morgan, for David Tender to introduce us to his tight end, IG, to introduce us to the second receiver that kind of took over behind Manny Diaz and Kasim Perry, who I think got left off this list only because of how great the wide receivers were this year.
Well, the wide receiver class was deep as hell.
Yeah,
But
I mean, KP
the other
was,
side of this that we got to realize with Tender is the fact that he continued his balling out like he did 2 seasons ago. So last season, in my mind, for 2025, because it's already passed, but last season, he continued to ball out. I think one of the bigger changes on that was his connection with Diaz, in my mind. And also the second part to that, in my mind, again, is the fact that he had a defense that was really bringing it and really, helped the team out tremendously, because I think that was their biggest downfall for 2024.
And when it came down to it for me with David Tender, the turnovers towards the end of the season, I think you can throw away when we go into next year if we can assume his health, which is a thing that, in the A7FL is never something that you can assume safely. But the thing that I talk about when I talk about David Tender is his ability to make pinpoint accurate off-platform throws. And in a league like this, where the pocket is not necessarily always going to be clean, David Tender's ability to keep a play alive and throw accurate passes down the field makes it almost impossible for an A7FL defensive back to cover for long enough and for enough ground to completely stop the playmakers and the quarterback himself as the play develops, because I can't tell you how many times you're watching an Animals game that based on the, the wins above replacement theory that baseball does. Like if you take a average quarterback and put him where David Tender is in most plays for the Animals offense, that's a negative play that he can turn into a touchdown. And the way that he does it is not only with his arm, but very similar to the guy who won MVP this year. David Tender also led the league in rushing yards. And he does it in a way that feels like he's just jogging out there, just cool, chilling, and he's somehow zooming past everybody. He's one of the
Mhm.
more special talents in our league. And I think the only reason he's down as far as he is because of the health and the turnovers at the end of the year. Because when he had that leg injury, guys, he wasn't able to do the exact same things that he expected his body to do. And when he was out there forced to make the play when it broke down, those turned into the negative plays that wins above replacement thing that he used to have. I think that was
Well,
the biggest difference in the Insomniacs Final Four game, which is
well, I
why
think
that
the
didn't turn
part of
out the
the,
way they wanted.
but I think part of the reason too for the Insomniacs game, and David, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was hot as hell.
Well, I think the heat affected everybody in a certain way, but
Dude, but it was hot as hell.
but the really bad interception from Tender, you could see that in a normal situation, in my opinion, and he can plant that right foot. I'm pretty sure it was his right leg, and he
Mhm.
can plant that right foot and drive the ball. It doesn't hang in the air like it did for that really bad interception. And everybody can kind of remember, including David himself, that that was not what we expect from a DT.
Oh, and
But
by the way, DT, accept my friend request on Facebook, would you?
yeah, exactly. But for this list to have the kind of guy that we talk about when we're promoting the league, and he's our number 10 guy, that means that there's 9 absolutely phenomenal seasons that we're about to discuss in front of him. And I think that takes nothing away from what he was able to do, but a
No, nothing.
motivated, healthy, slimmer David Tender
It's gonna be
is something
scary.
that it's something that the fans I think are going to love to see, but definitely something that the opposing defenses in the
But
Northeast are going to have to
hold
look
on,
out for.
I want to ask if DT. Hopefully, you're still listening. I'm going to ask you a question. Put your comment in the comments, please. Your answer, excuse me, in the comments. But with you being 30 pounds lighter, my curiosity question: you were able to really take hits from defensive players and not go down. Do you think the weight loss is going to hurt you as far as that's concerned? I'm not talking about your athleticism. I know your athleticism is going to stay there. I know it's going to get better with the loss of weight. But sometimes when guys lose weight, they also lose that ability to absorb hits and stay up. So just kind of want your thoughts on that. I know you're fast enough. I know you can scramble. Don't get me wrong. I'm just asking that as a question because I've seen guys and I've played with guys that have lost the weight, and when they did, they realized that the shots were a little bit more, and it knocked them off balance, and they fell a lot quicker. So just asking, curiosity, your feelings, nobody else's.
All right, we'll wait for Tender. We look forward to hearing back from him.
Yeah, I'm just curious on his feelings on it. I think that personally, I think he was already a faster player, faster quarterback. He was able to step up into the pocket, make throws downfield. What's funny to me is that his arm strength was as such where he didn't necessarily have to step into a throw to get the ball downfield. I mean, a lot of times he reminded me of a lot of NFL style quarterbacks that just knew how to flick their wrist and the ball was gone. And I got to say, I'm very impressed with his delivery.
Yeah,
There
he
you
answered.
go. Wait, hold on. Here you go. His answer. I think it will, but this year I'm gonna try to protect myself more and avoid taking unnecessary tackles and sacks. Great answer, brother. I like it. I think it's gonna make you quicker, so you're gonna be able to get out of the pocket faster than what you were doing before. I'm very interested to see how the weight loss helps you. I think it's going to. I was just asking the question, curiosity more than anything else. As a wide receiver, when I put on a little bit of weight, a little bit of muscle, it made it easier for me to go through corners rather than letting them hit me and being redirected. So just kind of curious, but can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, and it's a good way to kind of cap off the discussion of our number 10 player of the evening, which brings us to a guy that some might say went head to head against this young man we just discussed in our number 9 player of the 2025 season. Chris?
One, Mr. Scott Scooter Hamilton from the Insomniacs, two-time champ. Can't let that go. Got to remember to say that. Corey, you're the quarterback of the group, so your take on Scotty, and then I'll give you mine.
Well, the thing about Scott that I think people already know is the physical abilities, right? And no one's going to say that Scott Hamilton is a threat with his speed, but most guys who have played against him know that he's definitely a threat to convert yardage on the ground when you give it to him. He's smart enough and has chemistry with his players enough to be one of, if not the best, signal caller and game manager in the league. And I don't think it's spicy to say that his fade ball, his deep ball, up the sideline is about as good, if not the best in the league.
I'm going to have to get your definition of game manager on that one, because I don't think Scotty's a game manager. But
no, but even a playmaker does have to manage the game. So I wasn't saying it as a noun; I was saying it as a verb, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
He is, his ability to manage a game. He's able to keep the offense in a 50-50 situation when they want to.
No, and that's why I asked it, because when you think about a pro player and you call him a game manager, he's not a guy that's going to go out and win a game for you.
Right, but
so I get what you're saying.
Even the best playmakers got to go out there in a 4-minute situation, and at the end of the day, if we want to get really boring and nitty gritty, if you see a 5 technique in the hole that you're running to, you got to check out of it, even if it's a run situation. So that's what I meant. But
I get it.
The thing that I want to highlight is that in a similar tone, talking about the Tender situation with the end of the year kind of injury to Tender, I think we can really just quit the facade and just admit that in the championship game, Scott Hamilton was not 100%. Now, what percent he was, I'm not sure. But until that game, guys, the same feat that we're heroically, putting Sterry Codrington on a pedestal for going a whole season without throwing an interception, if it wasn't for the championship game in which Scott was clearly not 100%, he went the whole season up until that game with the exact same feat as Sterry. And some would argue with less of that secondary ability to make big plays, because he isn't the same type of rudder that Sterry is. He isn't the same type of threat that Sterry is. The offenses are structured differently. But the point that I'm trying to make is that as great as we talk about Sterry Codrington and his interception-less season, Scooter Hamilton, when healthy, basically did the exact same thing this season. And when we talk about Tender, Hamilton, they went head to head, and Scott Hamilton, maybe also not fully healthy, broke the record for most touchdown passes in a single game. And that was in at that moment the biggest game of their season. Obviously the championship becomes the biggest game of the season,
yes,
the next week. But if we're talking about just pure performance, Scott Hamilton clearly deserves this. But it also, the intangible that I kind of mentioned in the game manager stuff and some of the other stuff, this is a guy that after the loss He didn't blame his offensive line or his defense or the reps or the rules on the shorter field. Scott Hamilton said, that's on me. Didn't give an excuse for his injury. We just knew about it. And he's now the one of the driving factors that is going to push the Insomniacs on this revenge tour next year. So I don't know if he's losing any of the weight. You know, with Scott, it might be a CC Sabathia situation, right? Chris?
Hold on. I gotta ask Steve why he's sitting there smiling and laughing when you said that. What's up with that, Steve?
No comment.
Oh, come on, man! You can't sit there and laugh about something and then say no comment.
If you're gonna say no comment, I'm gonna tell them to boot you. You must comment. That is literally the requirement.
That's what we're here for.
You are the only other face on screen than Chris, the face of this show.
Yeah,
I mean,
at the same
Corey
time,
and
Steve.
Dub like to be off, and Dub's getting ready for work. So what's up?
Well, everybody knows the horrifying situation of the shirtless Corey appearance on the other side of the ball.
Yes.
So nobody wants that.
So what's
I
up?
mean, when it comes to the weight, I'm not one to talk because I'm the guy that eats 40 tacos in a day out at the field. So whenever it's for us, it's the off season. For them, it's the off season. So I don't hold any of them gaining weight against them.
Well, no, I'm
But-
kind of curious. Well, no, Tender lost 30 pounds, didn't gain it. But
Right.
my curiosity is,
I'm talking about Scooter.
oh, you're saying he gained weight over this?
I mean, maybe he
I haven't seen
bloated
him, so I
after
don't
winning
know.
that bet, right? Because he got the free food.
I don't know I have
don't
no
think that he
idea
gained weight.
if that bet got paid out. I have no idea.
It should.
I mean, Scooter's one of those people, like, yes, he carries a lot of the weight, but I wouldn't be the one to get in his way. I'm making a good business decision.
Hell yeah. I mean, if he's running full speed at me, guess what? I'm probably going to jump on his back and try to take him down that way because I am not going to try to lay into him.
He's proven based on his body of work that it really doesn't matter the shape that the package comes in. The package is a winning formula. So I won't talk about packages anymore moving forward. That's a sus and pause situation. But the point being is I don't know what his specific motivations in that realm of the improvement are.
Mhm.
But I know for a fact that revenge tour of the Insomniacs, and we got another comment from Tender. Excited. Hopefully we can get a rematch.
Yeah, I had it up just a minute ago.
Animals Insomniacs neutral field, more animals, less Fahrenheit. I think that would be interesting.
Less Fahrenheit. The only way. Well, hopefully we'll see if the championship game is here in Vegas, or if it's in, I don't know, back at Bullhead. I mean that is actually pretty fantastic.
Yeah, well, if we make people when they come out when the Insomniacs came out to New Jersey the first time, and they had to play in the humidity, then maybe the Northeast or the Midwest has to play in the dry heat. So, I mean, it is what it is. We got a live with
That's my boy.
sighting.
What up, man?
Happy Thanksgiving, and
yeah, Christmas coming up.
We know
By the
Hanukkah
way, Christmas Eve is the 24th. We will not be having a show, just so you know. I'm not asking. I'm making that executive decision right now.
David Tender said he would fill in for us, so we'll see.
On Christmas Eve? Okay. Well,
no, I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, listen, number 10, we had one of the best quarterbacks and one of the guys that's probably the future of our league in David Tender. Number 9, a 2-time champ, an MVP, if I'm not mistaken, and an all-around great guy. Yep. Which brings us to our number 8 player of the 2025 season.
You want this one, Corey? Or you want me to take it?
There you go. All right, it's a sick-witted guy.
So number. Okay, go ahead.
Sick-witted guy. I'll go. Number 8, Siobhan Richardson, wide receiver, sick-witted.
Here's a kid that and yes, I could call him a kid. Here's a kid that broke into this league and had I want to say 2 touchdowns in his very first game with us. And it was enough to make you stand up, take note, and say, who is this young man? And ever since that first game, and Dub, I'm glad you're back on. Ever since that first game, my thought process was, everybody talked about what was going to happen with Sickwit in the offseason. Everybody said, hey, well, I shouldn't say everybody. There's certain people that said they're going to take a step back because of them losing Mr. Hammond's favorite quarterback.
And president of his fan club.
What's that?
And president of his fan club.
Yes. Yeah, leading president of his fan club. But everybody said, oh, well, we heard some people say, I shouldn't say everybody, that they're going to drop to number 3. And that didn't happen.
Well, there was one guy that made a bet, but I think there was definitely questions. I'll be the first one that admits that I had questions. But I'll say this. It would be disrespect to the guys that were not playing on Sickwit to not at least have a question of, how are they going to replace a guy in Jeremy Geary who was undefeated, the only quarterback in the regular season last year that was undefeated. Sterry wasn't, Scott wasn't, Tender wasn't, right? It was Geary. Now, did he lose in the playoffs? Yeah. So I guess it doesn't matter. But you're replacing those guys in the offseason when we and to kind of quote Chris, we haven't seen these guys. We can't really say what they're going to be. That was the question going in. But I'll say this, the answer is when statistically you make Darren Palmer look like the inferior option. Now, that's not necessarily true, right? But when you just look at the raw statistics, it looks like Siobhan Richardson was a better player than Darren Palmer this year, and just statistically, right? I don't think that's true necessarily yet. We'll see. Have a ton of respect for Darren Palmer. Definitely would have been on this list if we were allowed to do 15 wide receivers.
You got to, Corey, you got to kind of look at it too. There's a lot more that goes into, for me anyway, I'm not going to speak for you guys. I'm going to speak for myself. And that is, there's a lot more that goes into playing wide receiver in my mind than just catching passes and touchdowns. And that's blocking downfield. And it's funny because when you see some of the plays that we're talking about, you see one Darren Palmer blocking downfield for his boy.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I can't take anything away from that young man at all. Did he catch as many touchdowns as he did the year prior? No. That's fine. There's a lot of touchdowns that Siobhan got that he would tell you himself that, if it wasn't for Darren, he wouldn't have got those touchdowns. So they're as much part of DP's touchdowns as they are his. And that's what I like about Darren Palmer is that he is a team guy. It's not a me thing. And the thing about it is, not, and I know you're not knocking him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is DP, did he take a step back? I don't think so. I think what happened is you now have a situation where you have a 1A, 1B wide receiver with Sickwit. Question is, what's going to happen this coming season? And it's a question that I really can't answer yet because I haven't talked to the young man myself. But is Stone King coming back to play quarterback? Is Gary coming back to play quarterback? Who knows? We've got to see what happens. And I think that either way, you've got 2 great quarterbacks throwing to 2 great receivers.
Well, and Fox was on the roster last year, so we'll see. But this is to talk about Siobhan Richardson. And what I was doing with the Darren Palmer thing was not a negative to Palmer. It was to give credit to a guy that a lot of people, especially in the Northeast and the East Coast, probably aren't as familiar with in a guy in Siobhan Richardson. And this is a guy that when Darren Palmer ended up being kind of the more, we'll say, the precise pattern timing route guy, the Eric Schuford for the Sickwit, the go-to guy in the situations where it's a timing route and we need the conversion. Well, Siobhan Richardson, to me, proved that he is a take the top off of the defense type of receiver. And except for the games against the Insomniacs, I think he absolutely dominated every defensive backfield that I saw him play against. And
he did.
Look, there's a way to do it. And we talked about a guy earlier in this list at number 11 in Manny Diaz, who to me is one of those other guys that is just a pure deep threat. And it's important to have the size, the speed, the jumping ability. But I think one of the things that these two guys do that kind of goes a little bit unnoticed because it's hard to see if you're not like really paying attention is the way that they track the ball out of the quarterback's hands and the way that they use body positioning to stack defenders and box out players so that when the ball is up in the air and it's a one-on-one, it's not just his explosiveness or his speed or his route running ability. At the end of the day, when the ball's in the air and Siobhan Richardson around it, he's more likely than not going to be the guy that gets it. And one of the skills that I saw in the film that I was watching is that ability to react off the quarterback's fingertips and get himself in position downfield so that he's in the better spot and puts the defender away from his body, away from the catch radius. And to me, a sensational rookie performance from a guy that was stepping into big shoes and a big gaping hole in the sick-witted offense when they lost a Tierre Edwards, a guy who really didn't do it the same way as Siobhan Richardson, but was just as big of a playmaker at times for Sick.
Well,
It
I think the big
seemed like.
difference.
Well, and
Go
I'll,
ahead.
I'll
I'll
let you
let you
go because
finish
I was
now.
just going to do the last sentence. It seemed
Okay.
like Sick once they got a hold of what Richardson could really do.
Mhm.
They didn't miss Lavish that much at all.
Well, I think one of the things that we miss, and I'm going to say it, and I know that a lot of people aren't going to understand this, so I'll try to explain it. But Siobhan has what I call terrific late hands. And a lot of people won't understand that. What I mean by that is cornerbacks that are trained understand that when a receiver puts up his hands, stick your hand in the middle of his hands because you have a better chance of batting the ball away, especially on a deep pass. And if he's keeping you in his hip pocket, that's one of the best ways to do it. Richardson has a way of putting his hands up late to catch the ball, which doesn't give a cornerback that opportunity. So you don't know as a corner, you might see him look back, but his hands aren't up. So it's like, okay, is the ball even coming his way? And that is so deceptive to a cornerback because those are keys that they're playing off of. And if you see a wide receiver looking back, you don't necessarily want to look back because it might be a double move because his hands aren't up. So that's one of the best things that I've seen from him is the fact that he plays with such late hands when it comes to catching deep passes. It does not give cornerbacks that inclination that the ball's actually coming his way, which is something that I don't know. You can teach it, but until a player starts to implement that in his game, it's very difficult for some players because they misjudge passes when their hands aren't already up. So I'll give that to him. He's got terrific late hands.
And just ask BIC because at the end of that game, I think the strategy is let them score on big plays so they tire themselves out because I don't know if we're going to make it to the finish line where we're at with this heat. Because he was so open towards the end of that game. It almost felt like, now I know they were, but it almost felt like some of the guys that were playing defensive back for BIC, a couple that have yet to be named on this list that we were about to talk about. They were having some trouble, let's say, with our number 8 player, Siobhan Richardson. And that kind of, guys, I think it would bring us to our number 7. And just to kind of put it into context, the rest of these guys now are the number ones at their respective spots. They'll make up the official A7FL top 7 of the top 50. And it starts with a guy
Oh man,
similar in a
I gotta
lot of
give him
ways.
props with this one.
Number 7.
So number 7 is one William Carswell of the Insomniacs. And the thing about this,
Megatron.
what was that, Dub?
Megatron. I'm trying to sound like Soundwave from the Transformers saying Megatron.
Oh yes. He is one of those players that we watched him play with the Insomniacs, and a lot of people forget where he actually broke in and what team he played with when he first came into the league. Steve, you're going to say something?
Yeah, he was on the gold.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
before that, he was with the Kryptonite originally.
Yes. So, I mean, when you think about him coming in and it not being his first year and seeing what he was able to do and the dominance that he had in multiple games, it's like, what just happened? And why wasn't he? I don't know that he was given the opportunities with those other teams the way he was with the Insomniacs.
Well, last year, he was the first player in our top 50. Admittedly, I had not seen him play, but it was a glaring 2 return opportunities, 2 returns, 2 touchdowns type of situation. And he made the list because of the amount of touchdowns he had in only the 2 opportunities the Gold gave him for whatever reason. So I think there was obviously last year just a lack of like being there maybe. But when you saw him immediately and it I think came into full focus for the national perspective of the league in the Final Four game because he showed a level of dominance at times on both sides of the ball that when he was involved in the play, he was the guy who made it. He's a guy with the height, the athleticism, and the ability to jump and get the ball both as a wide receiver, but it's probably more of a deceptive type of thing that you have to figure out as a quarterback in an offense when he's playing safety back there. You know, defensive backs that are that big make it almost impossible to find windows to throw guys
and
when,
it's
when
not
they're
just
trying to get open.
his size, it's also his speed.
He chased down Sterry in the Natty.
Which and of all of the things he did on the defensive side of the ball, one of the most impressive was on that play that Sterry thought he was going to score. And it was a shorter field, by the way, so there wasn't enough room for Carswell to catch up. And I talked to Sterry after the game, and he said, "Yeah, that guy's a monster." So he's actually on this list as our number 1 athlete on the athletes list because statistically, as a wide receiver, although he has the highlight film, he didn't have the numbers in the crowded wide receiver class. But if he was on the wide,
class was really crowded,
and I think if I'm not mistaken, he's the if we count him as a wide receiver, he is the second highest wide receiver in our list total. So he did a good job. But I think it was his overall ability to do whatever the Insomniacs really needed. And for a guy that's kind of coming into the team of the Insomniacs as a new face, he clearly staked out his little piece of the playmaking pie. And if there is only one football to go around, at some point it's going to be him that you call upon because he's the type of guy, whether you're calling a play to get him the ball or you're putting him back there to stop the other team from being able to make that same play. He's going to be one of those guys involved. And William Carswell definitely impressed me. And I just wish that everybody could hear the glowing things that he was saying after that touchdown about the sportsmanship of the animals that day.
As it should be.
Well,
I mean,
go
ahead.
I think what we're forgetting is he plays all 3 phases. Don't forget what he contributed on special teams. A lot of times being the guy to throw the ball off, and a lot of times making the stop on special teams. So you add that element to his game in addition to what he does offensively, what he does defensively. Because I mean, I think he was okay in the game that scooted through 8. I think Coswell was the recipient of at least 3, possibly half of his touchdown passes that screwed through. I know for sure he got a hat trick for sure.
Yeah, that day
but, I
Scooter
mean,
was basically Oprah. He was giving everybody that showed up some.
but what I'm saying is Coswell, in a sense, has become the perfect red zone target, if you will, for Scooter, because a lot of time that was reserved for Eric Schufert. But now Coswell, in a sense, has become that other red zone target because, of course, Scooter can throw up the jump ball, the 50-50 ball, and with his wingspan and his height, Coswell can go up and go get it. So you also add that element to his game. And it's almost like, well, dang it, is like, how can you try to contain him because you're pretty much not going to stop him, and he's not afraid to let you know that you're not going to stop him.
Well, either way, he's a very talented young man that, as you said, I think that it's very fitting that we are talking about him and talking about him in a way that he was number one on our athletes side, because he is a hell of an athlete.
Steve, anything you want to add?
I when it comes to William Carswell, the kid's an amazing athlete. In his rookie season with the Gold, he didn't get that same opportunity because, and this is not a knock against Jeremiah Reeves at quarterback, but having Jeremiah throw to you and having Scooter throw to you, two completely different things.
Well, having the offensive line of the Gold be the reason how long your route is versus having the linemen that the Insomniacs have and then being able to extend that amount of time. Shout outs to Jeremiah. Shout outs to the Gold, but I think Carswell found a home.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
I would back that up 100%, because I think that he understands where he's at and what he needs to do, and I think that Corey, you've said it a couple of times. I think the Revenge Tour is definitely a great name for it.
So, guys, that is the official number 7 of the top 7 of all this year's all the players in the league this year, which will transition into maybe a guy I just hypothetically referenced, although I talked about him within the greater unit. But that is a very large entrant to our top 50, number 6.
Hey, you got to let us know who you want to call that out.
My bad. It will be me.
Okay.
Kenny Mack, the center offensive lineman extraordinaire for the Las Vegas Insomniacs.
Little Nightmare.
Which is a fitting name.
Ain't nothing
Why
little
is it
about that,
Lil
man.
though? Why it doesn't seem like anything about Kenny Mack is just like a short nightmare that you wake up from and you're like, oh,
Because
it's over.
because his son is Big Nightmare. That's why.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Whenever I make the joke about people's names, it always ends up being something about their kid. Shout outs to I'm not gonna bring him up anyway. But yeah, so Kenny Mack, I think looks at this list, looks at number 6 maybe, and is like, But I don't think it's any shade to say that the guy is one of the best players in the league. He's definitely one of the top 10 guys in the league. His effect is seen every single time he shows up to a game a little bit later than the time that the Insomniacs start, because as soon as he's put into the offensive line, the offense looks like a completely different animal. And of all the teams in the league, guys, correct me where I'm wrong. You guys are the Vegas guys. You see them every single play. I just watched the film on the playback. Of all the teams in the A7FL, the Insomniacs seemed to be the most willing to commit to a game that involves physical, dominant run game. And I think obviously the face of that run game for the Insomniacs is Anthony Wilkerson. But I think the driving factor to it, because we've seen offenses that try to run the ball with Anthony Wilkerson from Vegas that do not feature Kenny Mack. And this is no disrespect to maybe when his career is done, the greatest running back in this league's history. Now, he's got plenty to do to catch up to Courage, but he's pretty close already. RTC on the Vegas Force without Oos, without Kenny Mack, without Schwenk, not very many people remember what he was doing in that game consistently. Put a Kenny Mack in front of him, put an Oos in front of him, have Scott Hamilton be the guy calling these plays. Now we're talking about one of the greatest running backs to ever grace the field in the A7FL. So I think as much credit as we may still yet give that young man that I just mentioned, a lot of the credit, if you ask RTC himself, goes directly to our number 6 guy, who has never shown to be incapable of blocking the man in front of him, regardless of who it is. And he's faced some tough guys.
Well, I mean, you're also talking about a man that if you are, how can I say, light in the ass, one Kenny Mack is going to take you for a ride. And whether it's out of bounds, whether it's 15 yards down the field, whether it's through the back of the end zone, whatever that is, my thing is pretty simple. If you are going up against Kenny Mack, pack a lunch. And matter of fact, it wouldn't hurt you to bring some dinner too, because it's going to be a long ass day.
And he can do that with the cleats on or with the cleats off.
Yeah, makes no difference. He doesn't care.
And that's
whatever suits him.
And that's what's even more scary. Yeah. But I mean, again, what's the one thing we always talk about with offensive linemen? Footwork. And his footwork is unparalleled. But also, guys, this is a former Nebraska Cornhusker. And if you paid attention to the Tom Osborne days, what do? Run, 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 and run some more.
And then run some more.
So
yep.
And run some more. So
listen. If Kenny Mack played in the Tom Osborne days, that would mean he would be approximately 20 in the 90s. Guys, that was 35 years ago. So that means he would be 55. I think he missed the Osborne years. No, I'm just joking.
He wouldn't be 55 because I remember the Osborne years.
Not that you remember it, but he didn't play for him.
No.
So Dub is talking about the footwork, which is super important, and it is an apt assessment. Similarly to footwork, though, because we know the pedigree, we know the raw ability. But guys, the reason I think that Kenny Mack kind of separates himself in a full contact, no pads league like the A7FL, similar to footwork, it's black Air Force energy that he has. And listen, as a quarterback, I'll take a guy that has black Air Force energy over a guy who's maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit of has a better technique. Because when Kenny Mack is going into a game, he assumes that it is a battle. Mm-hmm. And when he's in front of his guys, he's out there fighting with his brothers. And all the other things that we talk about are really important, why he's exceptional. But I think what separates him and the guys like him, which there's not very many at all, is that willingness to do the filthy, grimy football things that are necessary that takes a team from being good to getting them through that final push and into a championship position like he's done twice already for the Insomniacs.
And don't forget, he's actually got some pretty damn good hands.
Yeah, he can catch.
When they allow him to play wide receiver.
I got video of him catching the touchdown.
Yes. Ashmore has a great video of him running around and catching the ball in the corner and doing the toe drag swag to keep his ball to keep the catch in bounds on a 2-point conversion.
And if I'm not mistaken, both feet were in, not just one.
Yeah. Yes, both feet. Yes, but yeah, the hands are there.
I think he was smoking a cigar and had the dog on the leash as well at the same time. No, that's different. That's different. No,
that was me. I'm the one smoking the cigar and having my Kita on the leash.
Gotcha. Okay, so I combined the somebody AI'd it. That's a different image.
There you go.
Which brings us, gentlemen, to our number 5 player of the 2025 season. And guys, I'm gonna be honest. Who wants to take it? Dub, you got this one?
Hold on, let me go.
Yeah, I'll intro you. I got you. We'll do pro show. We'll do pro show right now. This is a guy that I had as my defensive MVP for this season. Now, no disrespect to the guy who actually won it, and we may yet speak about that young man, on this list. But this was my guy for Defensive Player of the Year. Dub, number 5.
Well, he's already won this award on a couple of occasions, so there's really no need for introduction for this young man, but we're just going to give him to him. But the former Defensive Player of the Year on more than one occasion, the one, the only, Mr. Trey Baskerville. who is as physical and as imposing of a defensive player that you want. You definitely want him on the front lines on the defensive end because he is always around near the quarterback. And of course, you know the Al Davis rule: all quarterbacks must go down and must go down hard.
And not to mention trying to throw the ball over his outreached hands. Good luck.
Yes, the wingspan is ridiculous.
Yeah,
And
that's
one of the
my
few players, one of the few defensive linemen that I know with a pick.
yeah, and he's athletic enough to take it to the house. Now, I've played with and against Trey Baskerville, and obviously I know firsthand what he can do. Look no further than one of the first times my son opened up TikTok to see his father showing his friends at high school, hey, look, this is my dad on TikTok, and then it's in the rain against the Renegades in my purple jersey, and this guy's swatting it away. I had a touchdown pass, turns it into an interception. Thanks, buddy. Making me look great in front of my kid, Trey. But no, in all seriousness, just ask the Insomniacs about Trey Baskerville because the Insomniacs every day that they show up to a workout, they see some pretty damn good defensive linemen. If I do say so myself, right? So for them
They do.
to
They do.
for them to for the first time ever to see Trey Baskerville, a guy in Big West Oos goes up against him one on one, and in a bunch of situations, guys. Now, this is no disrespect to anybody. In a bunch of situations, guys, Big Oos did not know what to do with the really deceptive quickness of Trey Baskerville, which is, I think, where he gets a lot of guys because of how big he is. But his deceptive quickness and his ability to get leverage as tall as he is, and his explosiveness once he gets that tiny little crease to get to the quarterback. It was early in that game. Scott Hamilton was doing everything that he could to avoid Trey Baskerville, and
Yeah.
still was struggling at times.
Well,
Now,
because Trey Baskerville is one of the things that you just mentioned, Corey, with his size. The thing that I saw that was surprising wasn't about his size. What was surprising was the fact that he can, the way he comes off the ball, and if he had on pads, I would say his pad level. So let's just say his shoulder level, he stays very low. So when he explodes into you, it's all of that height coming up at once. Good luck. If you don't anchor yourself, he's going to push you over.
yeah, and if you're off balance, he can use that dip to gain that upward leverage and then knock you off your base.
Yep.
But to me,
See
the reason
him
I
get
think
goofy
I
times.
think he gets the award if it were me giving out the awards, which it's not obviously. He didn't win. But the way in which he changed the Animals defense from the absolute disgusting liability that it was, and shout out to David Tender, no disrespect. In 2024, the Animals defense in consecutive games allowed 70 points. So if anybody should agree with me more, it's David Tender. But he turned that unit of the Animals defense from an absolute liability into one of the better defensive units in the league. And that was not just in the early going of the Insomniacs game before it got out of hand. It was all season long. And if you guys didn't see it, whether you're listening at home, and shout outs to Justin Shepard, happy holidays, in the chat. If you didn't see him firsthand, just ask some of the Insomniacs guys because they got to play against him head to head. And he was one of the only touchdowns that was scored, and he plays defensive end. So, um, in my opinion, he earns a spot on this list. He's one of the more difficult defensive ends to play. Now, I've said this take already 3 times. You guys have touched on it. He plays defensive back in the flat as a defensive end that's trying to make a sack on that side of the field. He basically shuts down like like a 300 square yard chunk of the surface area of the field in front of you.
100 square yards.
300 square yards. Yeah, like the 30 by, whatever, 35 yards. I'm exaggerating, obviously. That's not, it sounded really scientific and well put together before we're really breaking it down. He covers a lot of the field, and partially because you can't throw that short route to his side of the field because he gets his hand up.
No, not
Takes
unless
away
you're
the
cut.
slant.
Not unless your offensive lineman's cutting them.
Yeah, punching him in the low section, right? Like you're going for an illegal.
No, just cut him at his
illegal
knees
hit.
so that way he puts his hands down. Because once he puts his hands down, you can throw a pass by him.
Yeah,
or
but
over
have you
him.
ever seen how he responds to the type of block that a chop block is? He can jump over people that chop
Yes.
block.
No, but
Yeah,
I'm not saying a
and then
chop
that
block.
doesn't. Yeah.
Not
So
saying a chop block.
no, I know what you're saying, and if you can execute it, good for you. But I've seen a ton of offensive linemen, all shapes and sizes, try, and if he doesn't get there for the actual sack, he's going to get in the way of the quarterback, throwing those shorter routes to that side.
100%.
And you know what's even scarier, guys? Now, I really think he did the best thing for the league, in my opinion, going to the Animals. But this time last year, it was like he was supposed to be going to BIC. Just imagine that nightmare. So let's be thankful for a lot of things, but that's one thing that I was thankful for.
So then we would have had to call BIC a super team.
I mean, nobody's not calling them a super team now. I mean, they've got Mark Bagway showing up. They have Matt.
I'm sorry,
Riddick.
I had to do
Listen,
it. I'm
Matt,
sorry.
What I just agreed with you, and I was the one who started the whole super team thing anyway. The Watchmen are a super team. They're the Gators and the Rare Breed combined. Like, let's be fair, right? The Crush were supposed to be a super team. That's not how it worked out.
I'm sorry. Did you say the Crush?
I said they were supposed to be the Crush. The Crush this year were supposed to be the Chaos, Heist, and the best players from the Crush all put together. They were supposed to be the best of the best that we had to offer in the Ohio division. And I think they're getting their things together. So we'll see them come back next year. But yeah, Matt Riddick, guys, he scored like 60 touchdowns in a season. The guy who had all those picks for BIC, yeah, he's a multiple time MVP in the A7FL. And he's one of the more dominant flag players consistently, since that is a thing we talk about. But yeah, he showed up for BIC, so we're not going to go there. But the performer that we are talking about here, number 5, Trey Baskerville. He had one hell of a year.
That he did.
Which brings us, guys, to our number 4 player. And
one Mr.
The guy who actually, no, I'm just going to do the intro, and Chris will take it. The guy who actually did get presented the awards. So, hey, guys, we did this list before those awards came out, and I guess we were right.
Well, some people listened. So our number 4 player for the top 10 is one Mr. Shannon Allen, from the cornerback from the Insomniacs. And in reality, I'd say cornerback, wide receiver, return man. Because if I'm not mistaken, he had a touchdown on all levels.
Yep.
Prime.
I don't know if I don't know. It sounds like that Transformers character, but I'm getting Gollum. I'm getting Lord of the Rings.
Gollum.
Right?
No, that was me. That was me trying to sound like Megatron, but I'm not Frank Welker, the actual voice of Megatron, who does it a lot better than I do. But I mean, when you come up with the nickname of Prime and you play like a Prime, all the accolades. That
Well, I
are
think
just
his
given
is
this
more
young
prime
man.
time, and I would agree with that because he definitely showed his ability to be prime time, if you will. Hell of a
Put the next
cornerback.
comment up.
Hell of a
Look here,
returner.
Ace. No,
What's that?
I'm gonna say, look here, Ace Hole. All right, go. Put your Megatron shirt on and leave me alone.
Shout outs to the Mizzle and Dub show. That's the kind of banter that you would expect to get from Dub trying and failing terribly at a Megatron.
That's
but
because
Miz
Mizzle
is
likes
not
to
here.
roast him.
Well, Miz is not here to do anything other than say straight facts. Dub,
No, he just like
Dub. That
he
was
just
not
likes being an
Megatron.
asshole.
I'm sorry, it was Gollum. It was Gollum.
I said, okay, listen to what I said.
Asshole.
Listen to what I said. I said I was trying. Keyword, Trying.
Listen, Miz is not a
I
good
agree.
friend if he confirms that that's a good Megatron for you to then later do it on your guys' show, and for everybody to think that you read Tolkien daily and side
Oy
with
vey.
the main villain of The Hobbit.
Oy
You're a
vey.
huge Andy Serkis fan, some might say.
Anyway, one Mr. Shannon Allen. I'm taking this back. We're pulling this back on the tracks for a minute. So
I'll
look,
derail it again.
I literally had we when we were talking about defensive player of the year and when we're talking about defensive rookie of the year, and I don't know that we handed that one out. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't go online and look. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of people that said we would be stupid not to include Prime into that and what he was able to do last year with the Insomniacs. I can't argue that fact. I mean, even when we were sitting there watching him and his capability to take away one of the best wide receivers from most of the teams, it was very impressive. What he was able to do with even with the going against Sickwit and whether he was on DP or whether he was on Mr. Richardson, it didn't really matter. He was able to stick with them very closely. Look, I think Prime is one of those guys that I believe if he continues to play in the A7FL, he is going to make a hell of a name for himself. You know, I haven't sat down with the young man and talked to him to find out, hey, is cornerback your regular position? We know Danye Lyons, that's not his regular position. We know that Danye is a wide receiver by trade, but he's a hell of a cornerback as well. He understands routes, he understands what to do. And Shannon Allen is the exact same. This young man, you can watch him and you can see that he is sometimes running the route for the receiver. He understands route running. He understands the route tree. He understands where he needs to be. And he understands how to play the ball when it's in the air, which a lot of cornerbacks get nervous when the ball's in the air. He does not. If you are not attacking the ball as a wide receiver with Shannon Allen covering you, he is going to pick the pass, period. So you have to attack the ball. And Shannon Allen is also one of those guys that can make you look really dumb. And we saw him do it a couple of times on the 3-on-1s. I got to give the young man his props. He is where he belongs in this top 10 in my eyes. And I've got to give it to him because for a young rookie, and that's what he is, he's a rookie in our league, to make it to this top 10 is saying a whole lot of what his play capability was this season.
And guys, go ahead. You go first, up. You go first, up.
My question is, and it's a very legit question, how is he going to handle if he starts exactly getting the Dion, Darrell Revis, Nnamdi Asomugha treatment? And what I mean by that is almost kind of like AJ, they don't run to AJ's side. You forget that AJ's there sometimes. I wonder how he will handle if next season, going into 26, he gets that treatment and they don't even touch him at all because he embraces the challenge and enjoys the challenge. I wonder in his mindset how he will handle if he doesn't get thrown to at all next season just because of what he put out there on tape this past season.
Well, I think it's a good question to ask, and I would love to answer it because I talked quite a bit to Shannon after the game, and for a guy that kind of takes on the moniker of one of the, the most braggadocious professional athletes of all time, he had this really confident humility that wasn't like wasn't like he was overwhelmed in that game or that he found like he wasn't prepared, but he did have a healthy respect for the way in which the guys that he had played against and the guys that played around him were able to compete at that high level. And he said that he wants to be great in this league. He wants to continue to improve. And for a guy that in his rookie year is the third best player in the league, to have that kind of attitude that he wants to kind of shoot for a higher level, like to continue to rise. I think that's the answer to your question, Dub, because the thing that you're going to find with the Insomniacs next year is, for all the, yeah, let's throw away from Shannon Allen, you might hypothetically think in a vacuum sounds like a smart idea. Well, who's the other guy that you're throwing to the opposite side of Danye Lyons? I don't think that the way this team is built, that you're going to be able to, as a quarterback or an offensive play caller, pick and choose who to attack. It's not going to work that way. And if you try this one way, it's not going to work. So then the guy on the backside is going to be able to make the play. But when you have a guy that has the playmaking ability whenever the ball's in his hand, whether it's when he did get his offensive reps as the returner and when he plays corner, you could see why there are sometimes comparisons to Danye Lyons. Now, I think they're a little bit of a different player, but the fact remains that when the Insomniacs preseason told us that they were bringing guys to make their team from a championship even better, I don't think that that would be what the kids call cap. Because when you look at our top 20, some of those guys in the top 20, William Carswell, Shannon Allen, maybe I'm missing, maybe I could find the guy if we go a little bit further back.
Moses Smith.
Oh, Moses Smith is close, but he's not in the top 20. He's like 25-ish. But like, those are the guys that we were told are going to be difference makers. No lies were told, no cap was uttered, and you got a guy that was a rookie on a team that was returning as the defending champs, and somehow he's one of the highest ranked guys.
Yep.
By
the way, Moses Smith, number 26. Just like
yeah, I just missed him. So number 4, Steve. I know you're modeling over there because you're used to the whole the visual aspect of this media. But do you have any take on? This is what I'll do, and then Steve, you go. I am going to say this though. Shannon Allen is too good and too unique of a talent for us to be as lazy as fucking recycle a 30-something-year-old nickname of a guy who currently is gray-haired and has children playing in the NFL. I think it's fair to say that he is like Deion Sanders in some ways, but I am going to start a movement in this offseason that Prime is not a fitting enough nickname for as unique and exceptional a talent that Shannon Allen is.
I will rebut that and say that I think you're wrong, and I think that it is a uniquely piece for a throwback that these players don't have today, that when they have that uniqueness and that talent, especially at corner, there hasn't been, and I'm sorry, but with all the changes to the NFL and the rules, you will never see another Deion, period. And as far as I'm concerned, if you want, in my eyes, if Prime wants to be called Prime Time, dude, you got my vote, because that, to me, epitomizes the uniqueness of the talent for a corner that we just don't see in this day and age anymore.
I don't know. Listen, I've made my point. Chris has made his. Let's settle in the comments. Steve?
Shannon Allen, I mean, Prime he's explosive and dynamic. It doesn't matter where you put him on the field. He's going to excel no matter what you do to him. So there's not really much else I can say that you guys haven't said already. He's just incredible.
Not that we're
I'll steal
score.
Munchie's thing and say he's just got better friends.
Exactly. Stick to primetime. I'm going to be very upset if people think that we should recycle an old nickname for a brand new, shiny, thing that we get to watch on the field, making big things happen.
What are you going to call him?
He is a human. I'm talking about him like he's an inanimate object, but he's a fun guy to watch.
Well,
and
well,
Steve,
if that's the name that he puts as a nickname, that's his choice.
Exactly.
I don't know. No, nobody's. That's not how this league works. Have you guys seen L.J. Smith talk about people? You don't say this is my nickname. You are bestowed a nickname. Anyway,
You earn it.
I'm thinking
I
that
digress.
Shannon earned that nickname. I don't think that was one that he gave himself.
Oh no, that's not. I didn't say he did, but what Dub said is that what guys want to be called is what they get called, and I
But
just
if
had to
that's a
make
nickname that
No,
he has
that's
already
general.
earned, and that's what he wants to
that's
be
not
called, then that's what I'm going to
that's
call
not
him.
what I said. I'm saying if that's what he wants, if that's the name he put for his nickname, then that's. I mean, who's to say that? Who are we to say that that's not what he wants to be called? I mean,
I don't know. I guess just me, which is not that big of a
I
person,
ain't
right?
gonna
But
be I ain't gonna be like it
that's
was on Coming to America. If his mama called him Clay, I'm gonna call him Clay. No, if he wants to be called Primetime, I'll call him Primetime.
oh, his mom called him Shannon, so I'm just joking. I don't want to get stuck on this, but I do want to say this. So I'm not keeping score or anything, but Steve, we've cut to you twice, and some of those responses were, "I have no comment," and you just you think I think you just said, and I quote, "I really don't have anything more to elaborate on it." So, no, I'm just giving you a hard time, Steve. But it's definitely a great appearance.
Well, that was our number
4.
4.
well, I was
Number
waiting for Corey
4.
to- Thank you, Corey.
Well, listen.
And so that puts us up to our number
3. And Steve,
3.
you have the list. Do you have the list in front of you? Because I'll give you some time to pull it up.
Yeah, I
So
got it.
I just kind of softly roasted you. My bad. But
You're good. I got thick skin. Don't worry about that.
exactly. And you
At least you
know
didn't say
very
foreskin.
well who this next guy is, what he means, and I'm
Yep.
gonna let you introduce our number 3 player of the 2025 season.
Get on the bus. RTC, Mr. Anthony Wilkerson. I mean, the guy does it all. He runs people over. I mean, it is what it is.
He runs around you, runs by you, runs through you, runs over you, and is the only bus that I know of that was able to run the last mile with a flat tire.
Yeah.
Just saying. So, and that was in the championship game in 2023.
23, yeah. Bullhead.
And that was a very impressive run by that young man. And I got to say, the block was very impressive by one Munchie, Eric Schufert Jr. The fact of the matter is, when you look at RTC and what he's able to bring, and I think, Corey, you brought it up, you can look at his yards this past year. We saw a decline in the running backs, an increase in the wide receivers. My question still stands. I'm interested to see what happens next year and who's going to be the explosive position. But I got to say this, and that is that even when you talk about RTC and you can say, well, he might have had a down year, still look at his touchdowns, still look at his production, still look at what he was able to do for the Insomniacs. And not to mention a guy that I don't know. I know he was injured going into the championship game. I don't know how severe it was, but I also know that this young man decided to play. And I've got to give it to him. Not only does he have heart, not only is he able to do the things he's able to do, but I think that I don't go out of my way, or I'm not going out of his to say he loves the game of football and he's going to play. And the only way to keep him off that field is he's got to be, incapacitated one way or another. But as long as he's able to move, as long as he's able to run, he will be playing. Period.
I really don't think he had a down year. It was just when he got the ball, he still showed how effective he was. I think it was just the fact that you utilized Prime on offense, utilized William Coswell on offense, then you sprinkled in J.J. Peel on offense. It was mainly a defensive player the year before. And of course, you still utilized Munchie. It was just there's all these different weapons that the Insomniacs have, and it's like, okay, we know what we have in Wilkerson, and when the time is needed for him to call his number, we'll call his number. But I think it's just more so of just what I think his presence of him being on the field, in a sense, helps sets up his other teammates, as in being the perfect decoy because you think instantly he's going to get the ball, but he doesn't. Just the fact that his sheer presence is out there. And again, I mean, we were all under the assumption, or we had been informed that he was not going to play at all in the championship game. Like there was just flat out he's not playing, and we're like, whoa. And then you hear, whoa, he's out there, he's going to play, and we don't know the severity of the injury, as Chris said, but he was still running the ball with force. He was still very hard to bring down and tackle. Just goes to show you of the immense talent, number one, and just the want to just go out there and play and try to contribute as much as he can. But of course, Chris always talks about the flat tire run in 2023. For me, it's always when Deontay Henderson and Anthony Wilkerson met, and well,
Head up.
let's just say buildings exploded because it was like Darkseid fighting Superman.
Or the immovable object the immovable object going up against the whatever this thing is, irresistible force.
The irresistible force.
Force, yes. And so, I mean, the thing about it is watching those two the first time, and I was standing on the sidelines when they went head up, and if they were padded, it would have been one thing, but no pads, no helmet, and you still heard the smack from those two meeting for the first time. And personally, my feelings on the whole situation is one RTC doesn't mind contact. Matter of fact, I think he enjoys contact, and I've seen him get hit and smile at the other player, and that was kind of one of those things that, you know, you hit a receiver or a running back with everything you got, and he gets up and smiles at you, you know you're in for a long night.
Well, and statistically, when you look at totals, we've seen better from him. But if you break down the numbers a little bit more granularly, right, and you really break it down, he averages around the same yards per touch that most wide receivers average.
Yes.
So
which is crazy.
I think he had like about 400 yards, but he had a little bit less than 40 carries. He had like per touch at the running back position. And look, to be clear, the Insomniacs aren't running some kind of like misdirection wing T where RTC is not like he's like the counterback, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't even know he had the ball. No. When RTC is running the ball, and shout outs to his offensive line, by the way, we mentioned this earlier. When RTC is running the ball, it's Scooter saying, all right, hike, handing the ball to him, and then it's his responsibility now to now get the yardage. And for that type of basic hard-nosed north-south running game to churn out 10 yards per carry, it makes no sense to me, right, that would be the case. Now, there are other running backs that would rotate and keep him fresh. He was also a very impactful player when he was on the defensive line for the Insomniacs this year as well. But I think it's just a mental edge that the Insomniacs have when they go into a game knowing that RTC is going to carry the ball for them a little bit. Look at the championship game. Some of the biggest plays in that game were when he, who showed up in a boot, got the ball and exploded up the middle of the field for big gains, physical runs, and for a guy who was supposed to be not 100%, running past the same Devontae Henderson that we were just talking about being a beast. Yeah, he was a linebacker for BIC and still at times was struggling to bring down an injured RTC.
And for you, he ran for 380 yards on 31 attempts. So that was a 12.3 average with 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, so listen, we've seen him put up better totals. But the fact is that every fifth time he touched the ball was a touchdown, and he almost got 400 yards on less than 35 carries. It's a first down anytime that you give your ticket to the bus driver and he gets you all into the front of the back because you have the choice, and he's going to drive you that minimum 30 feet every single time.
Right.
It's insane to say. So you could say that he had a down year. You could say that he shared the ball, whatever, right? You could say those things. But the efficiency of his ability to move the ball downfield and how risk averse it is to just hand the ball off by turning around and saying, "Here, RTC." If anyone wants to stop the Insomniacs in the Vegas division ever, the first thing that they should do is try to get his yards per carry under what would be a first down every time.
Right. Very true. And that would be our number
3.
And that takes us to our number 2 player.
Number
Corey, if you
2.
will. Go ahead.
Kason Campbell, Offensive Player of the Year, record-setting wide receiver. And listen, he's the guy that I think that everybody that we said a little bit of a yeah but on this list this year should look at, because I don't even think Kason Campbell.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Let me just say this about Kason Campbell.
Oh,
And I want you guys to think about this. He had 54 receptions for 1,047 yards, which gave him a 19.4 average with 23 touchdowns. The next closest to him for touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, was 13.
Yeah, Manny Diaz had 10 less. Yeah,
so I mean, when you think about what he was able to do, Kason Campbell was able to make plays with Sterry that was, lack of a better word, scary at the rate that he was going. And he put himself where he was on purpose. So I will say that, when I think about what he was able to do and how he was able to do it, it is very impressive for this young man. And now we know why he received the accolades he has so far for the offseason.
And, this year we have him as number 2.
Yes.
I don't think we had Kason Campbell on the list at all, if at all. And if we did, he wasn't very high, right? So no. Kason Campbell has been the guy that we have always seen in person. And this is more of a Big Rob take. So shout outs to Big Rob, my guy. But Kason Campbell, Big Rob would give a lot of flack for, because as talented as you could easily see him week in, week out, every single time he would suit up for BIC, there would always be a yeah but. Now, we talked about some of the Insomniacs players on this list and how great of a season they had, but they had to share the ball with all the other guys. Well, let's talk about the guys that Kason Campbell has to share the ball with. Asante Worthy, Trey Robinson, who led the league in rushing at the running back position. Mark Bagway was on the sidelines when Kason Campbell was on the field for BIC, right? It's so, also Matt Riddick, a 2-time MVP at the wide receiver position, not to mention guys like Trey Cohen and the like. But the point that I'm trying to make as we get the double dub, which is like a whole meta situation here, shout outs to double dubs. Kason Campbell last year was not one of the guys that we're talking about at the end of this list. He wasn't the guy that we said on BIC is going to be the record setter. And what he did was the evolution and the constant grind of his career in the A7FL, just coming back for more. He put in the work to not only earn the trust of his quarterback, which was really important on his route to being as dominant as he was this year. He also, team by team, play by play, earned the respect of everyone around him on his team and the opponent, because he was as hard of a worker and a grinder as he was of an absolute pure talent. And I think is why he was able to do the types of numbers in a season where his teammate, Chris, if you could pull it up, what were Asante Worthy's receiving stats? Because Asante Worthy was our 6th wide receiver, but he had better stats than guys like David Clark and Eric Shuford.
Real quickly, starting to work. Love y'all. Good night.
Dub, my bad. Chris, do you have those stats?
Right. I'm sitting there reading it off, and I'm on mute. So Ashanti Worthy, 39 receptions, 676 yards, 17.3 average with 11 touchdowns.
And so for on a team in which a different wide receiver, I think it was what you said, 11 touchdowns. A different wide receiver was, I think it was 4th in the league in yards, touchdowns. Right. That's approximately where Ashante Worthy was. Like, he was behind Siobhan and Manny Diaz in most numbers.
Correct.
Right. So for the you had a guy that broke the records by that much, when there was also a guy on his team putting up the type of numbers that could consider him in every other year, based on how Ashante Worthy returned this year, MVP type numbers. That's really insane, and I think is a good segue. Unless you want to talk about Kason Campbell, Steve, it's a good segue into the guy who actually is the number one.
No, I think we. Oh, sorry, Steve. I'm not going to take anything from you.
You're good.
Which brings us, because Kason Campbell at number 2.
Yes, and so that brings us to
number 1.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Corey.
Sterry Codrington. And so it's a perfect segue. We just talked about how dominant Kason Campbell was numbers-wise. At 4 was just almost as dominant a wide receiver performance from another guy who, by the way, wide receiver is a quarterback-dependent position. So Sterry Codrington was efficient enough to be the second leading rusher in the league, to produce the number 1 and number 4 wide receivers aggregate numbers in the league. And he was able to have that explosive output without turning the ball over all season.
Now, I'm just going to say this, and it's not a knock to Sterry. It's not a knock to any of the quarterbacks, but quarterbacks who are leading their team in rush yards, I've got to give it this much to them, and that is, it's a little bit, well, not a little bit, it's a lot different. Almost every team in this league plays man up. So when you have a whole secondary, the only people you got to get by are the defensive linemen in reality. But that's not taking anything away from Sterry or from David Tender. Both of these guys were monsters. And so was what's the young man's name that was a rookie this year? Hold on. And had some serious rush yards as well from the quarterback position.
Service.
Yeah, Service. So when you start to think about those types of players, and my question mark for this is simply this: what is the next evolution? Where are we moving to? Because just as a thing, I want you guys to understand this. So we know what Sterry did as a quarterback. As a quarterback, he played in 10 games. He had 142 completions on 212 attempts. That's 67% passing for 2,394 yards, 11.3 yards per attempt, and 38 touchdowns with 0, I repeat, 0 interceptions. So, yeah, it is an incredible season that Sterry had. But when you drop down to the rushers, he was also second in rushing with 51 attempts, 529 yards, and 6 TDs. So he is what everybody in the NFL would call a dual threat, right? We understand the fact of what he's able to do as a passer, understand what he's able to do with keeping defenses honest as well, because if you turn your head for too long with Sterry and he takes off, chances are you're not catching him. So we have to understand what this young man was able to do, not just as a quarterback, but also as a runner. And that says something. And Sterry, in my eyes, deserves the MVP that he won. He deserves to be number 1 on this list with what he was able to do this last season. And it's going to be interesting to see, because one of the things that I've noticed when you start talking about quarterbacks and what they're able to do from one year to the next, we know how good Sterry was last year. And what I'm talking about is 2024. We know what he is able to do in 2025. I want to see what he's able to do and what BIC is able to do in 2026. I think that it's going to be very interesting because I think that teams are building with that fact. And we also have some teams that are coming into the league that nobody knows what they're going to bring. So it's going to be very interesting for the 2026 season. Steve, I know you're kind of with a question mark. We have a California team coming back in. We've got a Atlanta team coming into the league. So there's going to be a lot of questions with those teams. And we know that there's going to be a lot of movement. We just don't know who is moving where. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Who is the California team?
Derek had mentioned their name, and I don't want to do them. I want to do
the
them
regulators
justice.
or something.
The Long Beach Regulators?
Something like that, but I can't remember the name of them, and it is not a name that we've seen before. And from my understanding, it is going to be players that we might not have seen before as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting time going into the 2026 season. But those are our top 10 for 2025. And if you have anything that you disagree with, hey, put it in the chat. Let us know. If you agree, that's great. Put that in the chat. Let us know. We had one of the top 10 players already chime in one Mr. DT, David Tender. I'm interested to see what you're able to do next season, young man. I'm not going to lie. I want to see what a lot of these players. To me, this is no longer East versus West. It is now A7FL. Let's see what's going to pan out and how players are going to come together, how teams are going to come together in this offseason. We've got some other changes that are happening, and we'll see how this all shakes out. And Steve, I see the inquisitive look on your face. It's because we're trying to understand, who Corey is teaming up with to call games this next season. That's one of the question marks. So
I am repping their merch.
I'm sorry.
I was going to mention the sweatshirt. I was going to mention it, and you can go to a website. I don't know. I'm not plugging any website. I don't even know what the website is, but that's probably also exclusive merch that you'll have to be a longtime fan to even get a sniff of. Steve Ashmore has some exclusive A7 merch, like the Kryptonite stuff and the Pit Bosses stuff and all those teams that don't exist anymore and all the merch they gave you.
Yeah. Well, fellas, we have come to the end. Steve, you are our guest, so we always do a final thoughts. I will give you your time to give us your final thoughts.
I think the list was pretty accurate. You guys did a great job at depicting it. I'm the guy on the sideline with the camera. I capture all the action. A lot of these people that hear about the A7, they don't get a chance to a lot of the time be at the field and see these guys firsthand and the action from the field level. It doesn't do it justice. I mean, when you're down on the field and actually at the games, these guys going like Carswell going up on a ball, it's insane to see how high in the air these guys are hitting. But I would encourage more people to actually get out to the games.
It is a different piece that I will say since I've been calling games, watching from the sidelines. It's not like hockey. Obviously, if you're watching it on live streams, the action is fantastic. But I agree with you, Steve. You don't get to hear the hits. You don't get to see what these athletes are able to do unless you're there live. And it does justice when you're there live to see, either how big or how small some of these guys are that are competing and what they're able to do. It's actually pretty incredible.
Hopefully this season, me being field level with the video and everything, I'll be able to help out with bringing more of those sounds of the game, having people mic'd up on the sidelines, bring a different aspect of the game.
Yeah, we just got to remind them not to cuss. Anyway, the other side of this is Corey. What's your final thoughts?
Final thoughts is in a season where in the 10 games that Sterry played, I think 4 of them were either 1-score games or 2-score games going into the fourth quarter or less. normally a quarterback plays worse in high pressure situations. There are very few guys that can prove it statistically that they get better. And this year, say what you want about Sterry Codrington, but there's a reason why on a team that I felt was worse than they were in 2024 against the team that beat them, which was better, the Insomniacs, in 2025, why Sterry was the one walking out with the hardware. It was because he was the difference, and why we're going to get a really, hell on fire type situation from the Insomniacs next year. So good luck to everyone out there in those Sunday afternoon appointments, because they better bring a long roster to take on those guys next year because of what Sterry did to him this year.
Revenge tour.
Very much so. And one Miz, I agree with you. It's totally different being out there than watching it on TV. Final thoughts for me is pretty simple, and that is the fact that we are in the middle of the NFL season. We all know that. It's good to sit back and watch football, but the fact of the matter is, when it comes right down to it, there's nothing that compares to A7FL as far as speed of the game and having some fun out there and watching these guys play. It has been a joy to bring you guys the top 50. It's been a lot of fun putting it together. All props to Corey Hammond for his involvement with it and, pretty much taking charge of it. And Corey, I appreciate that. And, asking us for our input. It's very, to me, very important for us to do it. So thank you very much for doing that, man. Appreciate you greatly, Steve. All the years that we've been on the sidelines together, now with me up in the booth and you coming up there every so often, it's good to be with you too, my friend. And I look forward to our time out on the field next season tremendously. For everybody from the other side of the ball, I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. Christmas is around the corner. Of course, we'll be talking to you many times before then, but I want to say thank you to everybody that joined us tonight. I know that the viewership during the off season is lower than during the season. It always happens, but nonetheless, take care of yourself and each other. Very important. And thank you for joining us for episode 162 of The Other Side of the Ball. Get ready for 163. We'll be coming to you soon. Thanks.